What up, what up, what up, what up? It's Martin Ross, and today we're switching it up. Before we get into it, you know the drill. Please check out my sound library Zource. If you have Contact, Reason, or Machines, or even just a regular DAW that needs wave, please check it out. I got a bunch of samples from the 80s, 90s, and today's style sounds for urban music. So go ahead and check that out. Also, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Also, I know you're stalking me. I know you're checking up, trying to find out what I'm doing, because my YouTube analytics tell me that you guys aren't. So the majority of you watching right now have not subscribed. So do the right thing. Hit the subscribe button. We got time. Click the bell. So let's get into it. So today we're going to be making a beat without a PC or a Mac. We're literally just using our DAW hardware recorder. You can use, there's Korg, there's Boss, there's Tascam, there's many other. I have my drum machine. This is a TR-808 clone from Behringer, which is the RD-8, and my sequencer, which is a Korg Kronos. Love it. It's the best. So quick thing, if you have just a sequencer, maybe this part isn't for you. So for the first part, we're going to be breaking it down with just communicating with our sequencer and our drum machine to make the beat first. So let's talk about MIDI connections. So I'm using a MIDI cable, and the MIDI cable that I'm using right now is an in to the out of the Korg Kronos sequencer. You're just going to need an in for your drum machine and an out for your sequencer. So with that being said, I have the in of this drum machine to the out of this Korg Kronos. I want the Korg Kronos to be the master and the drum machine to be the slave. Now, I started this beat on the drum machine. I found my tempo. So the idea is we want to lock tempo. So the tempo that I started on this drum machine was 97. I liked it. And then I went to my sequencer. The reason being why I chose my sequencer to be the master is because I'm doing most of the sounds. Once I got the drums done, I slide those away and I work on my sequence. Now, what is an important thing that no one ever told me that I should have known before you record? And I'm going to mention this later on. Before you record, it's always best to give yourself a 1-bar lead-in. Why is that? As soon as you hit the play button, sometimes your MIDI might not sync with your other devices. Meaning, as soon as I hit the play button, it might sound offbeat at the very first type of things. It's because it's when you're setting it to master slave, depending on how the machine was made, your Kronos sends a pulse signal to tell your secondary device, which is my drum machine, when to start, at what tempo. Just because you're set to MIDI control, slave master, whatever, it still needs to be told at what point do I start the tempo. Sometimes it's instant, sometimes it's not instant. So a tip, start one measure ahead before you start recording. So that way, when the second measure starts, everything's all in sync. Okay, just so you know, I set my sync to MIDI. You could switch over to what type of sync you want. But because this is in slave mode, this is going to be told what tempo it is. As you can see, it's 97 BPM. So again, make sure on your drum machine that you set it to MIDI sync, so that way you can get the right MIDI clock to be told when to play and at what tempo to play. Okay, so here is my sequencer. Again, this is going to be controlling all of my sounds here, or at least my sounds and playing my drum machine, so that way I don't have to be at the drum machine to play it at the same time. So I got 2 chords here. I'm ready to go. I'm going to go to global settings, and I'm going to make sure that the MIDI clock is set to internal, and I'm making sure that my sequence is set for external sequence, saying that I'm sending out the sequence to other machines. All right. Essentially, this is what you want, so that way when I hit the play button, it should play my drum machine and my sequence at the same time. Following what I said earlier in that tip, always give yourself a measure ahead to start. We're not going to do that, and you might hear that, you might notice that. Again, eventually the clocks will sync up and it'll be on time. Typically, again, give yourself a bar. So now, once I hit the start button, you should hear my drum machine and my piano. Let's hear that. All right, so you should be hearing that. You might again notice that sync off at first. Just remember, give yourself a bar ahead before you start recording typically insert a blank measure on your sequencer and on your drum machine before you start. Okay, and there you have it. That's how you set up your drum machine with your sequencer. Again, if you choose to have your drum machine as a master, go ahead, just set the sequencer to external MIDI. That's all you have to do. So that means it's saying, well, I'm receiving a MIDI signal somewhere else. I don't know why you would do that personally, because once you're done with your drum machine, you probably want to focus on your sequencing. But other than that, once you have your parameters stored, that's how you'll do it. Also, again, MIDI 5-pin MIDI cable is what you need. All the links will be in the description for the tools that I'm using for this video, for all the clips. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Again, please check out my sound library, Zource. It's available. Links are in the description. If you're doing this beat tutorial and stuff like that, please check that out. It's urban style music. We've got 2000s, 90s, and today's style sounds in there. Also, please, please, please hit that like button if you like the video. And most important, again, my YouTube analytics are telling me that you are not subscribed. So please do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, click the bell so that way you get future updates to your device. Again, this is Martin Ross. We're on part 1 of making a beat without a PC or Mac. Thank you so much for watching. Y'all take care.